Where did Meri Brown and Kody Brown's love story go sour for years? Viewers saw them smile in front of the camera, hand in hand, as if nothing could ever topple their marriage. But behind the scenes, a storm was brewing that would one day destroy not just their relationship, but the very fabric of the Brown family dynasty. What if the catfishing scandal wasn't actually the reason Kody left Meri? What if the truth is so much more complex, with years of abandonment, changing alliances, and a masterfully spun narrative that obscured Kody's betrayal in plain sight? As revealed in exclusive sources close to the family, the fissures between Meri and Kody began long before the public had even heard of the catfishing. Actually, sources close to the situation claim that by the time Meri made a move on the internet, she had already been emotionally dumped by Kody. The scandal was not so much the reason, and more of a symptom of the heartbreak she had quietly suffered. And this is where things turn ugly. Recall how Meri consented to legally divorce Kody so that he would be free to marry Robyn and adopt her kids. To the public, it appeared to be a gesture of sacrificial love. Yet exclusive sources close to the family indicate it was something she was coerced into doing, an action that took away her legal position as Kody's wife and handed Robyn unprecedented control within the family. This wasn't merely bureaucracy. It was the first step in erasing Meri's position as Kody's #1, setting the stage for her eventual isolation. But perhaps the most shocking detail: court filings and financial documents we've reviewed hint at financial motivations that went far beyond adoption. There are suggestions that property transfers and tax benefits were also involved, meaning Meri may have been a pawn in a larger scheme. This is a story still unfolding, and you're not going to want to miss the twists and betrayals ahead. Be sure you are subscribed, because what is coming next will forever alter the way you look at the catfish scandal, the divorce, and the ensuing explosive war. Things were more on the down low in 2015. Meri Brown catfished. The situation sounded straightforward. Meri was lonely and felt isolated, so she began a relationship online with a guy who she thought was a guy named Sam. But of course, in reality, the woman on the other end of the messages was a woman. The betrayal was degrading, and to many fans, it was the most emblematic reason Kody distanced himself. What if, however, that story was merely half true? Sources say that when Meri reached out over the internet, her marriage to Kody was already on life support. Kody had ceased being intimate. He openly pursued Robyn while Meri was standing on the side, lines watching the man she loved years ago invest his energy in yet another wife. Remember the TLC show when Meri said she felt like a seventh wheel? That was not scripted television. That was her life. Insiders close to the family indicate Kody had emotionally checked out years before the catfish came along. And that is where the timeline gets fuzzy. Based on leaked phone records and text messages connected to the scandal, Meri possibly contacted Sam months after she and Kody were no longer sharing a bedroom. However, Kody portrayed the scandal as the ultimate betrayal, the reason why he could never make peace with her. Why? Because it provided him an easy way out. In blaming Meri for her error, he deflected the blame from his own failure. Fans saw Meri as the destroyer of the marriage, while Kody got to leave appearing to be the injured husband. But was he justified? Or was the scandal turned into a handy justification to eliminate Meri from Kody's life altogether? The answer may be in the court of public opinion, and in a sequence of TLC deals that linked the Browns' private agony to television viewership. Because what was fatal for Meri in private was worth its weight in gold to the cameras. And if you thought the catfishing scandal was rock bottom, wait until you see what happened next. A staggering divorce settlement that left Meri with less than merely her legal status as Kody's wife. On paper, it was a straightforward tale. Meri consented to lawfully divorce Kody in 2014 so that he could wed Robyn and adopt her kids from a prior relationship. They were told it was a sacrificial act, a maternal gesture of devotion to the family. But behind closed doors, things looked very different. Court documents and insiders say the legal divorce wasn't only about adoption, it also altered the balance of financial control. By signing the documents, Meri relinquished her sole legal wife status to Kody, leaving Robyn to fill that position. With that position came power over belongings, inheritance, and even money decisions that were linked to the Brown family trust. Consider the timing. Meri had been married to Kody since 1990 and assisted in building up the family from scratch. And still, in one stroke of a pen, she was stripped of her 24-year position. Some family friends assert Meri wasn't offered a genuine choice. The decision was presented as a family necessity, with pressure so intense that she felt she couldn't say no without being painted as selfish. And the fallout was immediate. After the divorce, Meri's place in the family dynamic shifted dramatically. She no longer had the same authority or influence, and she was increasingly isolated from Kody's inner circle. Robyn, on the other hand, entered her new legal position with all rights and privileges Meri could never regain. Recall that time on Sister Wives when Meri told us she felt like she gave up something big, but didn't know what she received back. That wasn't emotion, foreshadowing. And here is where things get tricky. Financial documents indicate the divorce may have also enabled the family to reorganize their assets, including real estate tied to Coyote Pass and other investments. In short, Meri might have been excluded from deals worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So was it all about adoption? Or was Meri manipulated as a pawn in a larger plan, one that left her exposed, isolated, and without the protection she had so long and so faithfully earned within the marriage? And if the divorce was the setup, the fallout was the punchline. Since not only did Meri lose her legal status, she started losing something even more heartbreaking: her identity as Kody's girlfriend. After signing the divorce documents, the fans anticipated Kody to assure Meri that their connection remained unaffected. He could have said, "This is just a legal technicality. You're still my first wife. You'll always matter." But he didn't. Instead, episode after episode, viewers watched Kody distance himself from Meri, almost as if he was rewriting their entire history in real time. He no longer sat beside her during interviews, hardly even went to her house, and openly confessed on camera that their marriage had no chemistry left. The humiliation wasn't discreet. It was televised to millions. Recall the infamous confessional moment when Kody informed cameras he had no desire to be in a relationship with Meri anymore. He went so far as to say he had zero interest in fixing what was broken. For Meri, who had been his wife for almost 30 years, those words were gut-wrenching. Fans inundated social media with anger, labeling Kody cold, dismissive, even cruel. But for Meri, the hurt wasn't even in his words. It was in his actions. Insiders claim that during family events, Kody would arrive late to Meri's gatherings or skip them entirely while lavishing attention on Robyn's household. Meri herself admitted on camera that she felt completely alone. And she wasn't exaggerating. Sources close to the family described how she spent nights by herself, watching her husband build new memories with Robyn while barely acknowledging her existence. It was abandonment in plain sight. What made it worse, Kody not only ignored Meri in private, he actively belittled her in public. At one point, when asked about the state of their marriage, Kody bluntly told reporters, "We're just friends." Imagine hearing that from the man you'd built your entire adult life around. The catfishing scandal had given him a convenient excuse. But the truth was deeper. Kody no longer saw Meri as a wife, and he wanted the world to know it. But if Kody thought Meri would simply fade into the background, he was wrong. Because soon, Meri started reclaiming her own narrative, and what she had to say would turn fans against Kody in ways he could never anticipate. For years, Meri remained silent, while Kody self-portraits as the jilted husband and Robyn moves into her new position as the legal wife. Meri kept most of her emotions behind closed doors, but gradually, bit by bit, she started exposing the reality. In interviews and also in confession clips, Meri confessed that she was abandoned much earlier than the catfishing scandal hit the headlines. She explained the isolation of being in a plural marriage where her husband's love had vanished and was instead filled with distance and indifference. She wasn't lonely, she was invisible. Meri disclosed that after divorce, her phone calls and messages used to remain unattended by Kody. She told him he only visited her house infrequently and no longer made the slightest displays of affection toward her. What stunned viewers was her blunt admission that she was the one constantly initiating, and Kody had quit trying years ago. In a candid moment, Meri stared straight into the cameras and stated, "I feel like I don't matter, but there was even more," she suggested, more the show just glossed over. As per close buddies, Meri felt she had been manipulated into the legal divorce, led to feel it was for the greater good. whilst in actuality it was more for Kody and Robyn than it ever served the family. And the final straw was the bombshell that rocked fans. Meri didn't consider the catfishing scandal to be her betrayal of Kody, but as her desperate cry out to reconnect after years of abandonment. She described the messages she had sent as not being about cheating, but about yearning for someone, anyone to notice her, hear her, and appreciate her. Her words rewrote the entire story. She wasn't the bad guy in the story. She was the victim of a marriage that had already broken down. And if Meri had been emotionally left behind, she wasn't alone. Because as the years went on, Christine and Janelle began to voice eerily similar complaints, hinting that what happened to Meri wasn't an isolated case. Undefined, it was a pattern. But Meri's case was unique. Undefined, she wasn't just abandoned, she was erased. And the evidence of that erasure can be traced back to shocking financial and legal moves that stripped Meri of far more than just love. Divorce in a plural family is never easy, particularly where money is concerned. But for Meri, the financial infidelity might have hurt even harder than the emotional one. When Meri consented to formally divorce Kody so he could marry Robyn, the reason she was given was all about family security. The legal marriage would supposedly make it easier for Kody to adopt Robyn's children and create stability for everyone. But here's where things get suspicious. After that divorce, Meri's name started to quietly disappear from key financial documents, real estate, business filings, and even property tied to Coyote Pass. Land the Browns were supposed to share were suddenly being reorganized in ways that didn't always include Meri funds. Notice that in some legal filings, Kody and Robyn's names were front and center, while Meri's stake seemed to fade into the background. And even though TLC checks were rolling in for each season of Sister Wives, there were questions. Was Meri really getting her fair share? Or was she being cut out just like she was in her marriage? It wasn't just real estate. Sources hummed that cash from the family pot, their collective fund that Kody controlled, wasn't always divided evenly. Others felt Robyn and her children were privy to greater resources than Meri, Christine, or Janelle. And Meri herself confessed that she felt frequently omitted when it came to money decisions, as though her input no longer counted. The contrast was stark. Robyn had the mansion, the jewelry company, and Kody's complete focus. Meri, on the other hand, was left to struggle and maintain her own bed and breakfast business, surviving mostly on her side ventures to sustain herself. When Meri discussed this disparity, she did not pull punches. She claimed to feel pushed out both emotionally, but also financially. It wasn't so much about losing Kody. It was about losing her role in the family she had built from the very beginning. And this is where viewers began to make connections. If Meri had been erased emotionally and financially, was divorce ever truly about adoption? Or was it part of an overall scheme to consolidate power, romantic and financial, in the hands of Kody and Robyn? The more you dig, the more obvious it is, Meri wasn't merely left behind. She was systematically erased. And when you look at the manner Kody conducted himself with her after the divorce, it becomes downright chilling. If Meri believed the divorce would at least maintain some affection or respect between her and Kody, she was deluded. What ensued was not merely indifference. It was a cold war within their marriage. Kody ceased pretending. On television, he confessed outright that he had lost the romantic feelings for Meri. In one of the episodes, he even uttered, "I don't feel married to Meri." That statement was a shock to fans. How could a man make such a statement about the woman who had shared his side for more than 30 years? For Meri, it was degrading. She still wore her wedding ring well past the time that Kody ceased to acknowledge their union. She still continued to make overtures, sending messages and arranging small gestures. And yet Kody would frequently ignore her or greet her efforts with cold indifference. In one episode, Meri tearfully confessed that she had invited Kody to her birthday and sat alone because he never arrived. She admitted that she'd attempted to make things right hundreds of times before, only to have each effort rejected. It wasn't the lack of love, it was the occurrence of disdain. Kody accused Meri of being manipulative and controlling, attributing issues that had existed for years to her. His words against her were acidic, his patience nil. Fans began to notice that when Meri spoke, Kody often rolled his eyes, dismissed her feelings, or walked away entirely. The man who once courted her with passion now barely looked her in the eye. And behind closed doors, things were reportedly even colder. Insiders revealed that Kody had stopped spending nights at Meri's house altogether. What was once a rotation among wives had turned into a permanent absence. Meri's home, once full of family, had become a place of isolation. But Meri wasn't completely silenced. In confessionals, she let her pain slip through. She admitted she felt like an outsider in her own marriage, describing the experience as living in the shadows of my own family. The Cold War between them wasn't just emotional distance, it was active rejection. Kody had successfully shut down Meri, yet continued to enjoy the facade of a plural marriage, for the camera's sake. And while viewers sat through this, one question became louder. Why didn't Meri walk away? It lies in her sense of faith, obligation, and the years she had invested. But with time, that loyalty would be put to the test in ways no one anticipated. Because soon enough, the Cold War would boil over, and the world would see the explosive clashes that finally destroyed Meri and Kody's marriage forever. By the time the divorce had been finalized, Meri and Kody's tension was not just personal. It was played out on full display for the cameras, and fans will never forget the run-ins that made their fractured romance undeniable. One of the most dramatic came during a counseling session that aired on Sister Wives. Seated tightly beside Meri, Kody informed the therapist and the entire world that he no longer loved her and hadn't for years. His words were slicing, almost vicious, as though he wished to sever the final strands of their connection there on the record. The mirror shook visibly, attempting to stand up for herself, acknowledging faults, but begging to be recognized as not the sole failure. But Kody's expression was unyielding. In his eyes, the marriage was not merely broken, it was deceased. Fans swarmed the internet in indignation. They labeled Kody cold, disrespectful, even narcissistic. For many, that was the point where they understood Meri wasn't only ignored, she was being openly shamed by the man who previously professed to love her. But it didn't stop there. In subsequent seasons, Kody criticized Meri for betrayal in front of the other wives, mentioning the catfishing scandal over and over again like a club. Rather than a personal issue to sort out, it was used as ammunition to further alienate her. The other wives sat in stony silence, caught between feeling sorry for Meri and fearing offending Kody. And then came the infamous admission. Meri confided on camera that she had thought about leaving, that she had wondered if there was bliss beyond the family. Rather than listening, Kody smirked and waved off her threats as mere empty words. It was painful to watch. A woman opened herself up, pleading to be heard, only to be met with contempt. And the embarrassment didn't stop at counseling sessions. Fans recall the uncomfortable family dinners, where Kody would hardly even look at Meri, or the group conversations where he'd interrupt her while she was speaking. Each confrontation seemed to reinforce one truth. Meri was no longer a partner. She was an afterthought. The most heartbreaking aspect, Meri still held on to hope. She confessed to praying for reconciliation, that she felt God could mend their marriage. She declared she loved Kody even as he openly spurned her. These incendiary showdowns weren't television drama. They were the dissolution of a marriage in real time. And as fans gasped, many also recognized something familiar. The tale of a woman giving all to a relationship that already had moved on without her. But humiliation can only be sustained for so long before it becomes rage. And for Meri, the point of breaking was drawing near. Everyone has a breaking point. For years, Meri tolerated the coldness, the rejection, and the humiliation. She continued trying, hoping, and praying. But incrementally, bit by bit, her optimism wore thin. The breaking point didn't arise out of one big fight. It arose out of the buildup of years of inattention. Meri herself confessed to begging Kody to fix their marriage, but being told time and again that he wasn't interested. The last straw was when Kody ceased hiding his contempt and started saying, on camera and before the other wives, that he had no desire to be in a relationship with Meri. He wasn't ambiguous. He wasn't subtle. He said it bluntly. Like their decades of history meant nothing. For Meri, that moment was a gut punch. She later explained that she realized she couldn't keep living in a marriage where love wasn't just absent, it was unwanted. And then there was the symbolism. Fans remember the scene where Kody refused to even hold Meri's hand for a photo shoot, brushing her off like she was a stranger. That photo haunted audiences, the physical rejection, the space between them, the silent message that their relationship was irreparably broken. From there on out, Meri started to take back her voice. She quit trying to get Kody to love her again. She began discussing her own future, her bed, and breakfast, her autonomy, her path to finding herself again outside of Kody. It wasn't a decision she made in one night, but when she reached that breaking point, years of pain seemed to be released from her shoulders. She started to see herself as valuable again, independent of the man who'd rejected her for so many years. And when she finally went public after years of rumors that she and Kody were through, fans didn't just notice sorrow, they noticed relief. They saw a woman who had finally found the courage to walk away. But here's the twist: while Meri's breaking point freed her, it also exposed the cracks in the larger Brown family, because her choice wasn't simply about her marriage, it was about the whole underpinning of the sister wives experiment. And once Meri made her stand, the dominoes started to tumble. When Meri officially announced that her marriage to Kody was over, it wasn't merely the demise of a relationship. It was the start of a greater unraveling that couldn't be denied. For years, Meri had been the doormat cautionary tale, the wife who remained, suffered, and stayed in silence. But when she finally left, it sent a message to the other wives: it was possible to leave. It was possible to survive. It was possible to be happy. Christine had already crossed that bridge, leaving Kody and gaining her independence. Janelle soon followed, revealing that she too was no longer in a relationship with him. With Meri's announcement, what had once been a united plural marriage was reduced to rubble. Suddenly, the sister wives' family looked very different. Kody was left with only one legal and spiritual wife. Robyn, the dream of a large, successful polygamous family, had disintegrated into a monogamous relationship founded on resentment and shattered hopes. Patience perceived the consequences not only in the family structure, but in the show as well. Plots changed from togetherness and common aspirations to divorce, deception, and shattered relationships. What was once sold as a family of faith and religion was now a tale of heartache and collapse. But the repercussions did not end at ratings or television showmanship. The Brown children, Manny, who had been raised on camera, began to speak as well. A few joined their mothers' sides, openly confessing they had witnessed the favoritism, the neglect, and the imbalance. Others struggled to balance their affection for their father with seeing their mothers suffer. And throughout it all, Robyn stood beside Kody, frequently tearfully asserting she never wanted to be the reason for discord. But to many fans, the pattern was undeniable. As each wife left, Robyn's position grew stronger. Meri's exit, in many ways, confirmed what fans had long suspected: the sister wives model hadn't failed because of plural marriage itself. It had failed because of how Kody managed it. His favoritism, his negligence, and his failure to develop every relationship equally had brought about the disintegration of the family. And Meri, the original wife and foundation of the family, had emerged as the representative of that failure. Her tale revealed the world the agonizing price of erasure by the man who had promised her forever. But even amidst the ruins, there was something else. Something stronger than Kody's rejection. For the first time in decades, Meri enjoyed freedom. Undefended with freedom came the opportunity to rebuild her life on her own terms. Walking away from Kody wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the beginning of Meri's second act. For the first time in more than 30 years, she was free to live without Kody's shadow looming over her. And, instead of hiding from the world, Meri leaned into her independence. Her first major move was pouring her energy into her businesses. Her Lizzie's Heritage Inn, her Utah bed, and breakfast became not just a project, but her badge of strength. She put in time, money, and brainpower to see it succeed, frequently updating fans who cheered her along. She expanded her online presence as well, especially with her affiliation with a clothing company. Her streams, once a means to fill the emptiness left by Kody, became places where fans interacted with her on a personal level. There, she laughed and joked and revealed a lighter side of herself that many hadn't glimpsed in years. And though she didn't deny her hurt, she wouldn't allow it to define her. Meri began to share messages of strength, healing, and self-love. Her Instagram captions became rallying cries for anyone who had ever felt overlooked or undervalued. She also began traveling more, sometimes solo, sometimes with friends. Each trip seemed to underscore a new truth. Meri wasn't waiting for someone else to validate her worth. She was creating joy on her own. But perhaps the most striking part of Meri's comeback was her openness. She did not hesitate to acknowledge the heartache, but she rebranded it as transformation. In one interview, she confessed that although she had once felt pinned down in marriage, she now believed her future was wide open. Fans who had long seen her sob on television started to see her smile once more. She emerged as an unlikely poster child for reinvention, proving that despite decades of selflessness, it was never too late to reboot. Her tale wasn't solely one of divorce, it was one of rebirth, and as Meri was discovering her strength, Kody was confronting a drastically different reality, because without Meri, Christine, and Janelle, the perfectly built illusion of Sister Wives had imploded, and Kody stood alone amidst the wreckage. When Sister Wives first premiered, Kody Brown was the man at the center of it all. One husband, 4 wives, and a burgeoning empire of children, houses, and aspirations. To the world at large, he was the self-assured patriarch of a successful plural family. But take a fast-forward look, and things look very different. Women left one by one. Christine went first, not wanting to live in a marriage that did not love her. Janelle followed, exposing that she too was finished. And when Meri finally made official what many already suspected, that her marriage to Kody was over, the Brown dynasty lost its foundation. To Kody, the price was staggering. He had long bragged about being the patriarch of a large, cohesive family. That image, once at the heart of the Sister Wives franchise, collapsed in real time. Now, in place of plural cohesion, fans observed solitude. Rather than a family man, they witnessed a husband holding on to one marriage with Robyn, while estranged from many of his other wives and some of his children. Fiscally, the repercussions were equally dramatic. With multiple wives in exile, suspicions hung over how family finances were shared, who would cover what, and if ever the grand vision for Coyote Pass would come to be. If it weren't for Meri, Christine, and Janelle spending their time and money, the vision of constructing on that land grew more remote by the day. Then there was the blow to Kody's reputation. While once lauded as brave enough to expose a plural marriage on television, he was now accused of being controlling, inconsiderate, and even cruel. Videos of him sending Meri packing, ignoring Janelle, and fighting with Christine were all over social media, fueling endless arguments about favoritism and emotional abuse. And maybe the most painful cut of all, the estrangement from his children. A number of Kody's older children openly took their mother's sides, stating they had witnessed how Kody favored Robyn and neglected the others. For a man who had once asserted that fatherhood was at the core of who he was, rejection was not easy to ignore. Ultimately, Kody was left with precisely what he had previously stated he did not want: a monogamous marriage. While he still had Robyn by his side, the cost of keeping her close had been losing nearly everyone else. The patriarch who once managed 4 marriages was now struggling to hold onto one. And while Kody's world shrank, Meri's world grew. Their trajectories couldn't have been more different. But the story doesn't end with Meri walking away and Kody left in the ruins. Because their divorce fallout had bigger issues hanging in the balance. About love, fidelity, and whether the Sister Wives fantasy ever existed in the first place. Meri and Kody's divorce was more than a private breakup. It became a cultural phenomenon that resonated far beyond the confines of the Brown family dwellings. Viewers, critics, and the media all witnessed as the highly touted plural marriage paradigm started falling apart right before their eyes. At its most basic level, the divorce revealed the truth behind the highly produced Sister Wives storyline. What viewers thought was unity, devotion, and harmony was in truth complicated by favoritism, mismanagement, and deep personal grievances. Meri's decision to leave sent a powerful message. Even in marriages that are unconventional by design, personal fulfillment and respect cannot be ignored. She demonstrated that one can walk away from what is familiar but not satisfying, and that autonomy can be a road to healing and self-esteem. Kody, by contrast, turned into a cautionary example. His experience after divorce shows what ensues when command, dominance, and vanity trump empathy and partnership. Losing Meri was not only a heartbreak, but also a harsh lesson in how overlooking the emotional needs of your wives can break even the most intricate family structures. The divorce also raised issues regarding fairness and transparency in plural marriages. Issues of financial accountability, inheritance, and family dynamics took center stage in online discourses. How do assets get divided when there are multiple marriages? Can co-parenting really work when half the relationships have imploded while others still endure? Fans argued late into the night. Social media blew every twist in their saga into huge proportions. Arguments, courtroom bombshells, and tearful showdowns were quoted, examined, and reposted. Memes circulated, hashtags trended, and comments flooded message boards. The divorce turned into more than a legal issue. It was an open spectacle that challenged the viability of plural marriages in today's society. In the end, the Meri versus Kody drama revealed the human toll behind the reality television illusion. It reminded audiences that no matter how glamorous or idealized a family may seem on screen, the complexities of love, loyalty, and personal growth cannot be ignored. And while Kody tried to maintain the image of the steadfast patriarch, Meri's independence symbolized a new era, one where individuals prioritize their happiness and autonomy, even when it disrupts tradition and expectation. The story of their divorce, then, is not just about who won or lost. It's about the lessons learned, the truths revealed, and the ripple effects that will continue to shape the lives of everyone involved. As the dust settled on Meri and Kody's divorce, the court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict. Sister Wives fans were torn. Some praised Meri for being brave, hailing her decision to get out of an unfair and controlling situation. Others felt sorry for Kody, perceiving him as a man trying to keep things together and family intact, in a world that seems to always query his decisions. Online forums and social media went haywire with debates. Clips of courtroom bombshell and tearful interviews were posted millions of times, igniting debate about loyalty, love, and responsibility. Many fans noted that the divorce served as a wake-up call to the whole Brown family. Even in a plural marriage, fairness, respect, and transparency are paramount, or the foundation crumbles. Ahead, the Browns have an uncertain future. Kody has to get on with life without Meri, readjust his relationships with the other wives he has left behind, and deal with the financial and emotional cost of the divorce. Meri, meanwhile, sets off on a journey of individuality, free from the limitations of a union which no longer suited her. The wider debate caused by their split also continues to influence the way plural marriages are viewed. Viewers are finally aware that reality television tends to sanitize complicated relationships for the sake of entertainment. Off-screen love, loyalty, and compromise are a lot more nuanced than the plotlines indicate. Finally, the Meri versus Kody drama leaves behind a lasting legacy. It is one of empowerment, responsibility, and guts to prioritize oneself. For Meri, it is an opportunity to reclaim her independence and voice. For Kody, it is a time to learn and evolve, or risk reproducing the same series of events that created this explosive breakup. One thing is certain: the Brown family will never be the same. And for viewers, this split isn't just another season. It's an on-the-ground drama that lays out the realities behind the cameras, the courtroom, and the hearts of the individuals we thought we knew. Because as the credits roll on this season of their lives, fans are left wondering what is next for Meri, Kody, and the rest of the Browns. Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure: the tale of their divorce will be remembered, dissected, and debated for years to come.